Welcome back to my workshop again. This time my next project is going to be a fruit bowl basically. I toyed with the idea originally of making a round one, maybe even a square one, but I've gone with this octagonal theme. I started off with a Google SketchUp drawing to get some of the proportions in line, and from that I've been able to take this basic measurements into drawing a full-size rod of the largest diameter of the bowl, which is going to be about, I think it's 250 millimeters, about 10 inches. Yeah, there you go. And also what you need to know, and the bowl itself is going to be set at a slight angle, very slanted, about 15 degrees this way. So that in itself presents the challenge of cutting compound mitres on individual components or segments that are only each just over 4 inches long, longest points. We'll get to that later. First of all, what I need to do is to prepare my timber. I'm using ash for this one, mainly for its colour and texture, because that will blend in with what's already in the kitchen, and indeed some of the other items I've made this year. Unfortunately, I don't quite have enough. I don't have one single length of 1 inch ash long enough to give me all 8 segments. I'll get 6, maybe even 7 from this one. So to make up the difference, I'm going to have to use this shorter length. So there may be an issue of grain direction, grain continuity, which is why I'm going to go with the idea of adding some walnut features to try and disguise that maybe. But I mean, you look at it now, then it's not a million miles away, these two boards from one another. They're reasonably straight grained, so maybe I'll do something with it. First things first though, got to put it through my planer thicknesser. The next thing I'm going to do is to run a couple of grooves down one face of each board. What it's going to do is allow me to glue in some walnut inlay banding. First thing I'll do is make one cut in gradual passes up to a set depth. Then I'll move the fence back again, make a second groove. I'm using a 1/8 inch diameter straight cutter, so I've got to take it careful obviously, it's very fragile. But as I haven't finished reconfiguring dust extraction in all parts of my workshop yet, I'll have to do this one with chips flying everywhere unfortunately. Okay, now that these grooves have been cut in the sides, I can take this piece of walnut over to my bandsaw and run it through to get some thin strips that will fit these grooves. I'm now going to glue these strips in place using a fast setting PVA glue. A single bead should do it, and because they're quite a snug fit in the grooves I doubt they need much clamping. As you can see there, they're not really going to go anywhere. I'll try and get the glue out first. There we go. Then once that's dry, I'll give it all a light sanding to remove all the machining marks and flush these off, of course. And after that we can look at cutting the segments, cutting the mitres on the ends. But there was one incident where When I was cutting the grooves earlier, I slipped a bit on the router table. You can see there's a bit of a gouge missing there. I haven't yet decided how I'm going to fill this. It's quite deep, so maybe sawdust and glue wouldn't do on this occasion, but maybe I'll leave it till later before deciding on what I'm going to do. Another mistake I've made. See, this side has very little sapwood here. I meant to put that one on the outside with the grooves, but I actually grooved the outside. I've grooved the inside face, which has more sapwood. So my fear now is that this might be more noticeable later on. I also decided earlier on that I would lit both edges of the sides with some more walnut to continue the contrasting theme. On the bandsaw earlier I cut some 6mm thick strips, or 1/4 inch for the bottom, and some 4mm, not sure what that is in imperial measurements, for the top. What I'm going to do now is just glue them on with some PVA, and I'll hold that in place with some strips of masking tape. That should be long enough for the glue to cure now. We can take the tape off and plane them flush.
Today, a friend of mine, a guy that you may have heard of, named Paul Brannigan. He's an author. We know him from Kerrang! Magazine, and stuff. He's written a book about Grace Roll. Called This is the Call, The Life and Times of Grace Roll. Looking forward to reading it. I just sort of wanted to say a couple of things.